G'day everyone, and welcome to another Global Wealth Club presentation. We all know that the Voice referendum is coming up, and if you don't, you should. October 14th is going to be a monumental day in Australia's history, as this referendum is one of the most polarising referendums that we've ever seen. There is no unified approach in government, and there's no unified approach to this referendum in the public. And there's also a lot of angst around it. There's also a lot of misinformation coming from both sides. And I must admit that a lot of the misinformation is coming from the yes camp, which is saddening to say. There's a lot of emotion coming, and again, it's coming from more the yes camp than it is the no camp. And this is very disturbing. It's disturbing on more levels, than most, as this is really something that Australia needs to sort out, and it's something that we can actually do in a unified approach. But our political leaders doing this through ideology, rather than actually doing it for the betterment of the people, have created a very, very poor referendum, and basically something that could scar the country forever. So what is the referendum? The referendum, which will be held on October 14th, proposes this question. A proposed law to alter the Constitution to recognise the First Peoples of Australia by establishing an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice. Do you approve this proposed alteration? And it's a simple yes/no. You either write yes or you write no, depending on which side of the argument you're on and which side way you want to vote. Pretty simple question, but the problem is the question is too simple in what it's trying to achieve. If you go here, alter the Constitution, yes, that's a big step. Recognise the First Peoples of Australia. You'd probably, if it was just left as that, you would have probably 95% of people say yes, and away it would go, and it would get up, and then there'd be a change to the preamble. The bit that is the most decisive is the one-word voice. What is it? What's it going to do? How is it going to help the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people? We spend $40 billion a year on Aboriginal affairs, whether it's through the NIAA, the National Indigenous Affairs, I think it's Affairs Association, agency, sorry, the NIAA, which is pretty much a voice in its own right. We also have 11 elected Aboriginal people to our parliament. So is that not a voice? So what is the voice, and where is the voice going to sit in relation to our parliament? We have three parts of our parliament now. We have the executive government, we have the government, we have the parliament as itself, and then we have the judiciary. The courts are supposed to be totally separate, but if you have a look at what's proposed, the courts will become more involved, and that is a major problem. So what would this change? So what we will see here is a new chapter added to our Constitution, first time ever. Adds another section 129, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice. And there is three parts to it. So in recognition of Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander peoples as the First Peoples of Australia, this is what is now going to be established via the Constitution. 1, there shall be a body to be called the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice. The Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice may make representations to the Parliament and the executive government of the Commonwealth on matters relating to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders peoples. The Parliament shall subject to this Constitution, have powers to make laws with respect to matters relating to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice, including its composition, functions, powers and procedures. A couple of things from this that I have read and with people that I have spoken to that is worrying. One, that the voice has representations, and that is a legal term. Representation is different to advisory. Representation means, in a legal fact that it is a singular point for all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, and we know that there is no unified Torres Strait and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in the country. We see that because there is people on both sides of this argument, and it is to the Parliament and the executive government. So this voice can make representations direct to the Parliament and to the executive. So 2 parts out of our 3-part system. And pretty much at no other point does anyone or any body have that ability. And that is a very monumental reconstruction of our Parliament and the way that our parliamentary system works. It's a tectonic shift. It's just a very, very huge adjustment to the way that our democratic parliamentary system works. And by adding this as a new chapter in the Constitution, it means it's basically got its whole power in itself by where it sits in the Constitution. So what does the yes case say? The yes case says it just provides recognition. It's only an advisory committee. And we've seen that that is not the case because of the term representation rather than advising. The yes case says it has no real power. We also see that that's not the case with what would be inserted in the Constitution because it can represent to 2 parts of our 3-part democratic system. And lastly, the big one is it will change the lives of First Nations people. And I'm very, very wary of that because we haven't done so for the last 60 years. So why would a change to our Constitution change the way that our government looks after our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people? If it's not doing it now, how is a few words in a document going to change that? It's not, in my view. So what is the no case saying? No case saying it damages our Constitution. It rewires our entire democracy. And I've just said how I believe that will happen. It's divisive and dangerous, and we are seeing that now, how emotional that this is getting inside the Torres Strait and Islander people, our First Nations people. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are either against or for or don't even know it's happening, and they are being represented by people in the major cities. And the no case says it will not change the lives of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, and I happen to agree with that. So basically, what does this mean? In my view, this means that we are going to have race enshrined in our Constitution for the first time in a way that the 1967 referendum was to make Aboriginal people recognised and part of our country, our culture, our democratic process. This will enshrine that they are once again separate and segregated. It would also mean that the High Court would be more involved in lawmaking, because this voice is representing 2 layers of our 3-layer system, and the only part of the 3-part system that can make changes or interpret the Constitution is the High Court, it would basically mean that every time that a representation is made to the government, in my view, and in views of some legal scholars and that I have approached for the backgrounding in this, is that the High Court will basically be called upon to make a decision on most laws due to the fact that the voice is representing to 2 layers of government and 2 layers of our democratic process. And so it will have to become the arbiter of that process, and it will just slow and grind down government. Government's slow enough now. This will just make it very, very basically stalled. And I strongly believe that, along with the No case, the Warren Mundines and Jacinta Prices of the world, who have also said this, that the lives of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that are living in communities that are suffering from all matter of no education, no jobs, domestic violence, high alcohol abuse, the rape that happens with children, the bashing that happens with women, all the other bits and pieces that come along with it, will not change and will not be of the impediment. The other thing that some people on the yes side are saying, that the voice is the first step in a 3-step process, being the voice, getting into the Constitution and being recognised, treaty, meaning that they're basically claiming sovereignty and a treaty between 2 sovereign parties, and then reparations for all the past ills. And that could be tens of billions of dollars. And ultimately, there is a lot of people that are aiming for number 3, the reparations, who are, in my view, don't have the First Nations or Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people's benefit and advancement at heart, except their own grab for cash. And that is what I honestly believe that this whole yes case and referendum is about the grab for cash and the dividing of the Australian peoples and the Australian way of life, that it basically will make Australia pretty much an unworkable democratic country. We will basically lose all our rights to have anything of peaceful that, because of the nature that everything will just run through the courts. So no one's lives will be better, not just the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, but no one's lives will be better under this. So this is my opinion. I'm a strong no campaigner, and I don't believe there should be any division on race in our constitution or anywhere in our society. We are all one. We should be colourblind to anything to do with ethnicity, which is really what we're talking about when we're talking about race, because we all are one race. We are the human race. We're not potatoes. We're not whatever else. There is only one race. And this is the other thing that the wordsmiths in the mainstream media and the parliamentary offices do. They've taken the word race and basically used it for the simplification of an argument to pretty much work on the uneducated and the unaware that there is only one race, which is the human race, and the rest of it is all ethnic division, And by them using race, saying that First Nations are a different race to us, is basically saying that they're more human and we're less human than other people. The problem there is, and I've said this in many arguments, that if you think that you're against, that you think someone's racist, the only way that they can be racist is they're against themselves, because there is only one race. Or they are against a potato, or they are against a tree, or something like that. What we really should be talking about is ethnic cultures, and how multi-ethnic cultures have made Australia what it is today. We have pretty much the entire Australian body of its citizenry and population has come from somewhere else, or has genes in it, in our makeup, that has brought us from somewhere else. First settlers from Europe, the Asian advancement over the years from different parts of Asia for war, the Middle East, our Pacific Island nations, some North American, some South American, but predominantly Europe and Asian over the many years. So this is a very, very toxic bit of skullduggery by the government and by bad actors in the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community that are really trying to make sure that Australia is no longer a prosperous and successful nation. So that's my two thoughts. If you need any more information, or would like any more information, here's a couple of websites for you. Of course, there is the government's own website, voice.gov.au, the AEC referendum page, Fair Australia, which is one of the main bodies for the No campaign, and a article that I found very good from ruleoflaw.org.au, Voice, the case for voting no. I found that a very, very good article, and it's something that would be worthwhile you read. So there you go, people. That's my take on The Voice, and if you are looking to protect your wealth, get hold of us here at Global Wealth Club, support at globalwealthclub.org, and we can help you put strategies in place to help protect your wealth. And this is going to become more and more important going forward. Protection of your wealth under a yes case that wins will be more and more important than anything else that the government could even think about doing. So thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thank you very much.